What's up, guys? So I finally got Battlefield 3 today, and actually it was yesterday, the 27th, and I was really excited to get it because I've been waiting since the 25th, and Amazon messed up my order, so I finally get to play it here. And I gotta say, when I read the Amazon.com reviews after buying it, I was a little concerned because there was that echoing worry about how the servers were working. And for my first few games, I was definitely experiencing the issue where I could not get into games and I could not connect to the servers to get the downloads. And when you get the game, you have to put in a code so that you could even play online and download the updates. And it took me a couple tries to actually get that code working, but eventually after about 10 minutes or so, I got everything working, and then I had to download the HD patch or whatever so everything looks all good. So, I mean, out of the box, it's a bit of work just to play a game. But I kind of like the idea behind it because I remember hearing in Call of Duty that they were limited to the space on the disc, and if they were to, put out some downloadable content for the release that was, 1 gigabyte, 2 gigabytes, they could add a lot more depth to the game in one way or another. And over here, this is my first time on this little turret thing, and I was like, oh, this looks cool. Let me go shoot down some helicopters, and I actually get a helicopter and a jet. So yay me. And this is my first. I think it's my first. No, it's my first time playing Conquest on this map. So I've only played the game for about 3.5 hours, so not exactly knowledgeable about many of the maps. The only one I'm really good at, I would say, is Operation Metro, because I know where all the points are really, or you kind of chill and snipe people. But I mean, there's a lot of negatives being said about this game, and a lot of the points I agree with. Like, I mean, if you already had the beta, EA/DICE, and you had lots of time to work on all these, bugs and all these server issues, then I think you should have, taken your time and your resources and fixed that. And one of the concerns that I had is, you're blowing $1 million on a Battlefield 3 simulator machine. Can't you just pay people to fix the game or get more servers? One thing I heard was that the reason the servers weren't working well is because Battlefield/EA/DICE, whatever the company you want to call it is. I'll say DICE because everyone seems to yell at them and be angry at them. So I'll just contribute to that anger. But someone said that there wasn't an expectation to have the number of people playing online that were playing online. Now, that's almost like you're setting your own company up for failure. So you don't think your game's going to sell, so you're not going to have the servers prepared for multiple people. And I'm going to talk about the things I don't like so far in the full version before I talk about the good stuff. Now, the first thing, the menus. Like, are you kidding me? Every time I scroll down on the menus, and even though I only experienced the menus for probably about a minute of playtime, that effect every time you move up and down, it's like your screen is blowing up. And matter of fact, I tried to record it so I could show you the effect, but for some ridiculous reason, when you record it on the PVR, it freaks out because your screen just looks like it's melting. So, could you just please get rid of that and give me a normal menu where it could just go up and down? I remember on the beta, it was like the effect was just your whole screen kind of leaned, and now it gives you this retarded staticky effect every 5 seconds. No, so unnecessary. It does not make your game epic or your menu epic that I only get to see for a minute. And I wish you could just fix that. And in terms of menus, I don't understand why you can't go back to the main menu at any... Well, I mean, you can go back to the main menu if you quit a game. But in between games, the 30 seconds, you're stuck there. And this is the issue I have with Gears of War 3 quick matches too. You can't just quit in between games, which would make more sense, so I don't have to wait for another game to load or wait for another game to end. So, because I mean, if you quit in the middle of a game, you're not going to get your points and all that good stuff if I actually want to play through the whole game. And that just seems a bit silly, and something like it could be fixed very simply. And if you notice, I'm using the sniper. Yeah, nah. One of the immediate downers is you level slower, so I don't blame them. They want to add longevity to the game. But because you level slower, it's after playing the beta, it's like, now I have to go get all this stuff again. I think I logged like 12 hours on the beta, so I really enjoyed the beta too. But here's my big qualm with the game. They toned down sniper damage, and I think someone was saying it was weapon damage as a whole. And that kind of, I don't want to say it ruined the game for me, but it's starting to. Because I like the fact that the snipers, they were useful, and they were pretty powerful, but they weren't, I wouldn't say they were overpowered, but apparently DICE thought so. And the reason I got the game actually was so I could snipe, because I don't snipe in other shooters because I think the sniper is a joke in other shooters, and this was the first shooter I felt like it actually had some merit to it. But pretty much all the well, not all the semi-automatics, but most of the semi-automatics were a 2-shot kill if you hit 2 shots in the body, and now a lot of them are 3 shots to the body, and a lot of them are 3 shots to the body and 2 headshots. And I'm pretty sure I had one game where I had 3 headshots, or at least I got 3 hit markers, and the guy didn't die. So that's a bit of concern for me, considering like the length of, or not the length, but the distance you're shooting some people at. It's like when I can't get them in 2 shots, it kind of ruins my gun for me, because I could just grab, you know, the M16 or whatever, some other assault rifle or LMG, put a 1900 times scope on it, and accomplish the same task without being gimped. And I really hope that they bring sniper damage to where it was in the beta, and all weapon damage to where it was in the beta, because it felt really good in the beta, and now it just feels like I'm playing Call of Duty from 1900 yards away, and it's such frustrating at times, because it's not, I didn't buy this game to be Call of Duty. I didn't buy it to be like Call of Duty, and when they kind of throw that aspect in the game, it kind of makes me feel bad about buying it, because if I wanted to buy a Call of Duty like game, I would buy Call of Duty and I would have all my kill streaks and all that hot jazz. But I didn't want that. I wanted the quote-unquote realisticness of Battlefield 3, and I think it's kind of a joke when you say video games are supposed to be realistic, because I think the root part of a video game is game. So I don't expect everything to be realistic, but the thing is, on the beta, they kind of misled me there, because I thought the beta was, you know, this is the finished product, we're going to be fixing stuff that people were complaining about, which I think was more so weapon damage, but the flashlights, which everyone hates, because you stand out in the open and there's a big beam of flashlight from across the map out in the day, which is a bit ridiculous. And I think the other thing that people didn't really like was all the glitches that were going on, but obviously it seems that most of those, if not all of those, were fixed. And I think the last issue I really have here is the graphics. Now, overall, I think the graphics are really good, but here's the issue. You go to some points on the map, and all the graphics are A+, awesome looking graphics, you know, everything looks sharp, everything looks crisp, and you get, you know, that kind of sort of photorealism. But then you go to other parts of the map, and it's like, were you guys coding this part of the map at any time during development? Because it looks worse than Black Ops. And over here, this is one of the examples, you know, it's a pretty good looking area, everything looks pretty sweet. But on other maps, in certain areas of them, especially when you go out into like rocky nothingness, it's just, it looks trashy. And if you're gonna take that time to, you know, have an HD pack or whatever to download, I'm sure they could update that and they could fix whatever graphics they didn't finish. But part of my issue here is I feel like it's an incomplete game almost, and not in the fact like features or gameplay, but it just seems like they were rushing it. Now when the beta came out, you know, I was skeptical. I said, I mean, I think the beta ended on sometime in October, but the game came out on the 25th. And I said, you know, that's plenty of time to roll out patches and updates. And I think the first download was like 100 and something megabytes, which is obviously enough stuff that they could fix. And they could obviously roll stuff into the HD pack for updates too. But it feels like they were trying to rush this to beat Modern Warfare too much. And I think that was a bad thing for EA DICE to do. Because, I mean, I know you want to compete and you make your tagline a beyond and above the call or whatever. And, you know, great, you want to be competitive in the gaming industry, but don't put your product out there and act like, you know, it's the bee's knees if you haven't done everything you wanted to do to it and you haven't made it up to par of what the other game is going to be released as. Now, I mean, Modern Warfare, they were showing it in Call of Duty XP for tournaments and whatnot, and like I said before, I don't like to compare the games, but I rather compare oranges to tangerines than oranges to apples, just because oranges and tangerines, they're pretty similar, and you know, there's a lot of comparable things about them, but it's not the same fruit, and that's what I'm trying to say here. This isn't the same game as Call of Duty. Call of Duty isn't the same as Battlefield, but they're competitors, and obviously DICE wants to make that very well known that they're supposed to be competing games, even though I think that's a foolish thing to do. Now, especially on consoles, because Call of Duty is pretty refined on consoles as it is to PCs, and I know a lot of the PC fanboys are saying, oh yeah, you know, if you got Battlefield on a console, you're an idiot because it sucks and it's nothing like the real game. And I can see the issue with that, because the action is slowed down quite a bit when you're considering it's 12 on 12 as opposed to, I believe, 32 on 32. I'm sure those extra 20 people would make a huge difference in like how a game was played. Because there's games where, you know, you have to get a certain amount of kills to get attachments for your gun. So for whatever I'm using, I think it's the SVD, I need 70 kills for the scope that I like for it. And when you play on a different team, you don't get the same gun. So that means 140 kills if you wanted the same scope on 2 equivalent sniper rifles for the Russian and then the US side, I believe. So that's a lot of work to get 2 scopes. Just saying, 140 kills. And when there's less people around, it's harder to get those kills. Even if you're playing team deathmatch, it's still, you know, you're not getting a 32 on 32. So it really slows down the pace of the game. And I feel like it could be a lot better if we had those extra people playing, just because it would keep you more in the action and less running to your objective. Because I mean, there's points where I can't spawn on my teammates, and so, you know, I have to spawn here in the starting area, and as you can see, I think I'm looking for the vehicle here, and oh, there it is in the back of there. But by that time, you know, we already lost the game. So this is just my initial impression, and I'll probably put up another video soon, just because there's more I want to talk about, and I want to talk about the things I like. So keep in tune, try not to hate, even though you will.